And what is up, everybody? Okay, what is blowing up Facebook right now, as far as the MMA scene goes, is Nick Diaz suspended for 5 years. 5 years for professional mixed martial arts competition for testing positive for marijuana. This is not the first time he's tested positive for marijuana. The last time he was tested positive, he was suspended for a year and heavily fined. And then his dumbass is, test positive again. And there's a bunch of people who decide that, oh yeah, that's not fair because Anderson Silva tested positive for steroids and he was only suspended for a year. Well, Nick Diaz was suspended. It wasn't the first time. I mean, lots of fighters. I'm not condoning this because I don't condone marijuana, like not even for like serious medicinal purposes. If they were to regulate marijuana the same way they regulate, Vicodin, morphine, they were to regulate it like that, then okay. But they don't. A lot of the, I've seen the list of things that, oh yeah, things that marijuana could help, ailments that marijuana can help, and a lot of those ailments could be helped with sleep or even a glass of milk. But you know, you know, uh, people just want to keep doing it. So whatever, they got to find whatever excuse. They got to find whatever excuse because they feel like there's no danger to it, whether it is or not. It's just that's just another crutch, and that's what Nick Diaz is holding on to. And for somebody like him, it's one, like Joe Rogan, straight up pothead. Understand, the man is an absolute pothead. He's not a professional fighter. He's a comedian. He's a comedian, sports commentator. He's a TV and radio personality. For somebody, granted, whether marijuana's performance-enhancing drug is neither here nor there. For him, even though, like I said, the man's a straight pothead, he's a constant professional. He's constantly in front of TV cameras and stuff like that. And as far as whether he gets arrested or not, that's one thing that's neither here nor there. But for somebody like Nick Diaz, who you're in a position where you can't be on this stuff, yet you're constantly on this stuff. You're constantly getting caught with this stuff. But on top of that, you're absolutely horrible personality. You're not professional. You're starting street brawls, and every time a camera's in your face, you're not showing up to the press conferences you're supposed to be doing, and it's just you're just stacking the chips against you, and you're gonna act surprised. I mean, first off, this idiot, his last three, his fight with Carlos Condit, his fight with George St. Pierre, his fight with Anderson Silva, all three times the man gets his ass kicked, and all three times he's like, I thought I won that fight. Really? Clearly that's a man who's had entirely too much to smoke. It's like, come on. Anderson Silva tested positive for steroids. This is the first time that's ever happened. So okay, he was suspended for a year. There's other people that have tested positive for steroids, got suspended, or sometimes, depending on what it was or what happened, even got their suspension reduced. Nick Diaz had already been suspended because he tested positive. This was the third time. He tested positive against Takanori Gomi. Was let off with a warning. He was pretty much a UFC washout anyway. He then goes into Strikeforce, becomes the Strikeforce welterweight champion. Good on him. This, that, the other. He deserved it because I always found him to be an exciting fighter. But unfortunately, he just kept running into one brick wall after another, after another, after another. So UFC had to let him go. So he redefines himself in another organization, does a great job at it, comes back, and is a complete Idiot. Just a complete idiot. Look, there's no reason for you to have to take every single one of your fights personal. Never. There's never a reason. There's never a reason to hate the other guy that's standing in front of you. Just there's no reason. There's no reason to do that. George St. Pierre never did that. Matt Hughes never did that. Chuck Liddell never did that. Who else? Randy Couture never did that. Lots of fighters that never do that. Anderson Silva never did that. Just so many other great champions in the sport. Vanderlei Silva never did that. So many other great champions in the sport that never had to, just absolutely hate you, just be straight up disrespectful, this, that, the other, to every single person they were ever put up against. There is no excuse for that. None whatsoever. And, stuff like that. And apparently there was a brawl involving his little brother, something like outside of a World Series fighting. So the fact that, like I said, you've tested positive for the third time, of course they're going to come down harder on you. Because there's plenty of other fighters that have tested positive for marijuana first time. Nothing happened to them. Diego Sanchez tested positive for marijuana. Nothing happened to him. I forget which fight though. He tested positive for marijuana, and basically he just got off with a warning. Quentin Jackson, after beating Keith Jardine, tested positive for marijuana. Nothing happened to him. It took a while for him to come back to UFC because one, he was shooting A-team, and two, his jaw was broken. So, that's what happened there. But he didn't face any punishment. I can't really think of any others off the top of my head that had tested positive for marijuana one time. But then you got one idiot like Matt Riddle, who constantly was tested positive to the point where it didn't even go to the athletic commission. Dana White just let him go. He tested positive like every time he had to fight. The fool you only have to work 3 times a year. You can't stay clean 3 times. Couldn't do it. Nick Diaz, this is not the first time he's tested positive. He's already been punished for it once before. If he still hasn't learned his lesson, and on top of that, and just everything else on top of what it is that he does, someone tried to say on Facebook, "Oh yeah, because he's not a yes man and they don't like that." It's like, well, Tito Ortiz wasn't a yes man either. That's a man who did whatever the hell he wanted to do, but he didn't have to start street brawls and smoke weed. Lots of other fighters that more or less do more or less what they want to do, and they're not going out starting trouble. Even King Mo, as much as I don't like that idiot, doesn't go off starting street brawls. Doesn't at least not that I know of, tested positive for marijuana, and if he had at one point never tested again. People gotta get. It's been long known. That Nick Diaz was a pothead. If you're not going to clean up your act just so you could at least do the sport that you want to do for a living, you want to be the best fighter in the world, but you don't want to be clean, and you don't want the camera in your face, you're an idiot. You need to find another job. I'm sorry. There's no other better way to put it. And all you idiots that are defending him, you have no case. I'm done talking. You guys have a good night.